Have you ever found yourself saying, there's just not enough time in the day? Me too. Recently, I felt overwhelmed by absolutely everything on my plate, trying to balance my business, my podcast, being a mom, a wife, keeping the house running, keeping the house clean, managing everything between family relationships, friends, outings, all of the things, taking care of myself on top of everything. Does this sound familiar to you? If you've been struggling to find time for the things that you love, or you feel caught up in the mundane, this episode is for you, and it's going to be so juicy because today I'm sharing the one solution that helped me change everything as I started 2025. It's time to reclaim your time and set boundaries that help you thrive, so let's dive right in. Hey friend, welcome to Modern Homemaker Mom. Feeling stuck in the chaos? Do you find yourself in survival mode juggling all the things? If you're ready to regain control of your home, schedule, and time for yourself, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jynae, a wife, mom, and homemaker who turned my household chaos into purpose with simple, flexible routines. I'm here to help you create a cozy, clutter-free home and reclaim your time for what matters most. In this podcast, you'll find episodes around home routines, cycle syncing, and self-care practices so that you can eliminate the overwhelm and create a home that you love. Go grab that laundry basket and let's get started. I want to start out by saying that I'm going to be super raw and very transparent with you in today's episode because I truly believe that sharing our own experiences and stories will make us connect with others better and help them better. So I'm opening up about what I've struggled with lately, and in the hopes of this resonating with you and encouraging you to take steps towards a positive change in your own life. I actually didn't plan on sharing this episode, but just with the way this whole last week has gone, I felt God bring to my mind last night as I was laying in bed. He said, here's a topic I want you to discuss, and here is how you're going to tie this in with what's going on in your life right now. And I want you to share this. So this episode was not planned. I always plan my episodes like 4 weeks ahead. So I have a bunch of episodes coming out, and then God just said, you know what? Put those on pause. We're going to talk about this because it's really important. So I'm really actually excited to share this with you today because recently over the last 2 weeks, I've been feeling very overwhelmed, feeling like I've had too much on my plate and not enough time in the day. And I even told my husband, this is what I teach about. And on the podcast, I'm always talking about this. I'm always telling people how to overcome the overwhelm, how to structure their days so that they're not feeling overwhelmed. And yet here I am, struggling with following my own advice, and I just have had this guilt. So why am I telling you this? Well, I just want you to understand that I'm not perfect, and I don't always have it all together, and I too struggle. But it's times like this when we're feeling overwhelmed that it's often God trying to tell us and give us this wake-up call that something needs to change. So at the time of this recording, which today is December 16th, 2024, I'm currently balancing many different things. At the moment, I'm part of a 6-month group coaching program, which is teaching me all about podcasting and business. And it's what has even got me here in the first place. And so this commitment is anywhere from 5 to 7 hours a week if I'm including all of the homework and the videos. And then there's also coaching calls that I'm a part of. Then I also have my podcast, which is taking me another 4 to 6 hours a week. This depends on the week. Every week varies. And that's keeping up with everything from brainstorming content to recording, editing the episodes I record, designing graphics, and then promoting my episodes and my content on various different platforms. Those are just the business things I'm trying to stay on top of right now in my life. And so on top of that, of course, there's being a wife and prioritizing my marriage and time with my husband that's quality, not just coexisting together. And then I have a baby and she demands a lot of my time. And before we even had kids, I always knew that my marriage and my kids were always going to come before my work. So I hold no grudge against the time that it takes to be a mother and a wife because these are things that I absolutely love doing. And then on top of that, on top of the family side of things, there's the house. And so many of you know what goes into keeping a house afloat. There's the laundry, the vacuuming, the mopping, the putting a warm meal on the table every night, making sure that your family's well nourished. The list honestly goes on and on and on. And just laying it all out, I'm sharing everything that I'm doing right now because like I said, I'm being transparent. So on top of these things, there's also family and friends, keeping in touch with people so that relationships can be caught up with. There's that. And of course, there's text messages. I'm really close with my mom and I text her literally every day because we're actually in the same 6-month program for the business. And so we're always back bouncing ideas off of each other. And I mean, I love doing this stuff. I love keeping up with the relationships, but yeah, it really does consume a lot of time. And my mom actually said to me, she looked at her phone usage the last couple weeks, and she said that it was something like 6 hours in a week that was spent talking just to me because we send voice messages back and forth. And I mean, you guys, that's a lot of time. And my mom, like, we love each other and we have a great relationship, but that is a lot of time. And then, I mean, somehow on top of all of it, between in the like cracks here and there, I still have to and do manage to take care of myself. So when I look at it this way, laying all of these things out, it gets so overwhelming and I feel like, wow, that is a lot on my plate. And what really makes me understand that I'm overwhelming myself and having too much going on is when I break down how much time needs to be spent in each one of these categories. So when I realized that between podcasting, my school, and all of my business ventures and everything that entails that, I was basically like, that amounts to pretty much having a part-time job. And that made me think like, wow, that's a lot. So I know that building a business up front, it takes a lot of time and energy, and I'm totally here to do the work. But at the same time, I don't want these precious years of my life with my baby to be remembered as a time that I spent a lot of time behind the computer. And I mean, at this time, I'm only on my computer during her nap times. I'm only doing the work things while she's asleep because that's just what I've decided to prioritize and set a boundary that way. But she's already having fewer and fewer naps as time goes by. So I've been thinking a lot about like, how do I want my work and life balance to be going forward? And did you notice that I said after I laid everything out that's on my plate, that I said that taking care of myself was the very last thing I mentioned of all of my responsibilities? I mean, I'm sure that this is something that you do as well. We prioritize everything else in our life because we feel like it's more important than prioritizing our own needs because we don't want to sound selfish. We don't want to feel like we're being selfish by maybe taking that bath or 10 minutes alone to just breathe. So what ends up happening when we do this is we're constantly going and going and going and going, and then we get overwhelmed. So during my winter reflection phase in this cycle, which if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say winter reflection phase, go back to the mini series I have, episode 14 and 15. I dive into what the winter phase and the spring phase is. So as I've transitioned from my winter phase, the winter reflection phase, into the spring renewal phase, I have been spending so much time hashing out everything that I currently have on my plate. And I've been restructuring my routines, how I go about my day and my commitments and where my time is being spent. Because in these two phases, I won't get into it too much, this is a time where naturally your mind and your body wants to reflect. And in the spring phase, after the winter phase, you've reflected on your current situation, your life maybe. In the spring phase, now you're thinking, okay, what can I do? What changes can I make to make the difference, to make the change? So what I want to do is I want to be more intentional. I want my baby, Oakland, to grow up remembering her mom being there, being present. I don't want her to grow up and reflect on her childhood, remembering her mom always being busy or her mom always trying to fill her time with something from in the kitchen to texting a friend to all of the things. So on top of that, I don't want to lose myself in the process of this all. Doing all the things that I love is what makes me the person that I am, and it's what makes me unique. I love journaling, and that's something that I've really fallen off of track with over the last, actually year, if I think about it. And another thing that I love is turning off all the lights at night and only using candlelight to see. I don't know about you, but for me, I literally get giggly about it when I do that. It makes me so excited. It makes me feel like I'm Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie with her nightgown and going through the house with her little candlestick in the candle holder. And I don't know. I just love that. So that's something that I love, but I don't always make time for. And so those are just a few examples, but I'm sure that as I've been sharing those examples, there's been things coming to your mind of activities or things that you enjoy doing that really make you feel like you and that you love doing, but you feel like you don't have time to get to those things either. And I don't want my life to consist of mundane tasks or being stuck behind a computer or busy, always trying to do something productive. As a society, we get so caught up in looking to the future or caught up in the rush and hurry of trying to do all the things at once. We get so consumed in trying to set ourselves up for the future and we lose ourselves in the process of it. And we also get so brainwashed into thinking that every single minute of our day has to be spent doing something productive. And then in doing that, we forget to stop and smell the roses, to stop and be still and enjoy being present in the moment. And what I've really been thinking about a lot lately is when I finally get to the future, to that goal that I set for myself, when I look back, do I want to look back and remember countless hours spent burning myself out, spending all of my time working and getting caught up in the future? Or do I want to remember being present and intentional, doing the things that I love for me and spending quality time with my family? I'm sure you know what my answer to that is. So all of that to say, this is why I've decided to make a change. I took some time this last week to be still. As Psalm 46:10 says, I'm always reflecting on that verse. And I took the time to sit and reflect on what God was encouraging me and telling me to do in this season of my life. And in doing this, He gave me a very clear vision of what needed to be done. And I've already seen a massive change in not only my mental, but also my emotional health. So that's why today I wanted to take some time to tell you the steps that I took to reprioritize my time and set boundaries so that I can have more time to do the things that I love, more time for that list of things that we all keep in the back of our mind for that quote unquote, you can't see my little fingers doing the little bunny quote thing. When I have time, I'll do X, Y, Z. When I have time, I'll read more. When I have time, I'll play the piano. When I have time, I'll take the kids outside for that nature walk that we've been meaning to do for the past 2 weeks. Like, I know that you know what I'm talking about because I feel like as women, we all have that list at the back of our minds. Okay, so you're probably now wondering, what is that number one thing that I was talking about in the title of this episode? Okay, so the number one thing is, it's going to transform your life, it's going to change everything for you, is eliminating distractions. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the steps that you can take to start eliminating distractions in your own life. The first step we're going to do is acknowledge the fact that there is a problem in this area, because when we become aware of this, we realize that there actually has to be a change. So what you need to do is I want you to get a notebook and a pen, because it's going to make it easier if you can write this all down. And I want you to write down the distractions in your life. And I need you to be specific here. I need you to search your heart. Maybe pause this episode that you can take a minute to pray and ask God to search your heart and bring to light those distractions that need to be surfaced. To give you some ideas, I've brainstormed a list of the distractions that you could potentially be struggling with. These were things that I was struggling with, and I had to come to the reality and acknowledge it. This is a problem in my life. This is distracting me. Okay, so number one, the distraction that you might have, and this is a big one, phone usage and social media. These are, like I said, they're huge. Scrolling social media, constant notifications coming to your phone, or checking emails when it's not necessary, big distraction. You can so easily lose track of time on apps that do not add value to your life or the goals that you have. If you want a real wake-up call, you'll go into the settings in your phone and you'll look at the apps that are consuming the time on your phone, and you'll also see how much time is being spent in those apps. Or, like I said, social media specifically is a huge one. I am guilty of being on Instagram too much. So you can go into the settings in Instagram specifically, and it will tell you how much time every day is being spent on the app. And let me tell you, if something's going to put you in your place, it's going to be realizing how much time you're spending on your phone. Another distraction could be not saying no to things. Oftentimes, the biggest thing we need to learn to do in order to free up more time for ourselves is saying no to certain things in our life. Remember, because I know this is hard to say no sometimes, because oftentimes we want to say yes to things because we feel like we are more giving of ourselves and it's maybe what God wants us to do. But you need to remember it this way. Saying no to one thing also means saying yes to something better. So saying yes to yourself, saying yes to your family, saying yes to your well-being when you say no to something else. When you think of it that way, it can really change your mindset on that. Another thing that is a distraction is overcommitting yourself, saying yes to tasks, events, or requests that people ask of you that don't align with your priorities. Another one is your people-pleasing tendencies. I'm very guilty for this. I want to please people. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But agreeing to help others at the expense of your own time and energy, Should we be doing that? I don't know. I don't think so personally, especially when you put your family in the mix. Is saying yes to someone else, saying no to your family? Probably that's something that you're probably not going to want to be doing, because obviously we want to make our families and ourselves a priority. So sometimes that means saying no to people. The last example I have of a distraction that you could be facing is procrastination. Filling your time with unimportant tasks to avoid doing what really needs to get done. Are you guilty of this? I 100% have done this on days. Now take those examples I gave. If you struggle with any of those things that I listed, and be honest with yourself, write them down. And then also write down any other distractions that you can come up with that is personal to you in your life. Like I said, be specific and really search your heart on this. Maybe ask God, take a moment and pray, ask God to bring to light a distraction that is in your life right now that you might need to get rid of. And then the next thing that I want you to do, for each distraction you list, I need you to ask yourself these 3 little questions. How much time am I spending on this? What could I be doing instead? I had to pause this because Oakland woke up from her nap, and I didn't want to stop recording because I feel like the Holy Spirit is present in this conversation. I'm on fire right now with the Holy Spirit. So she's sitting on my lap right now. So if you hear her, that's just real life. I'm not going to edit it out. Back to the question. The second question, ask yourself, what could I be doing instead if I reclaimed this time that is being used up by the distraction? And then the third thing that you need to ask yourself is this distraction helping or hurting your goals, hurting your relationships, or your personal well-being, your mental health? Those are pretty juicy questions, and that's really going to make you think. And just to give you an example here, if you realize that you're spending, let's say, 2 hours a day scrolling on social media, 2 hours, that's 14 hours a week. That could be spent journaling or exercising or spending time with your kids, your husband. Like, that's a lot of time. And when you say, next time you say, I don't have time, think about that 14 hours a week you're spending on scrolling on social media mindlessly. I mean, that in and of itself is huge. So all of these distractions I just shared are pretty broad and basic overall distractions that I would say most people struggle with. But specifically to me, in regards to my work and business, I was finding even little distractions among these things as well. I got tired of spending 5 to 6 days a week working on business things. And I mean, not solely business things, but like mixed in with nap times and everything. I just felt like every day was the same. I wake up and I know that I was going to do this business thing today and this one on the next day. And it just got so mundane. And I mean, that's a good thing, like to have those tasks that you go to every day, and I teach on this. But it just got to the point where I was like, where's the time for me to just enjoy life? The time where I'm intentional. And I think that's the bottom line here is I just felt like my life was lacking that intentionality, the simple joys that make up who I am and the things that I love. So this might not seem like a distraction to a lot of people, but I decided at this season in my life, this is a distraction in my business. So right now I've been promoting my podcast, like I mentioned, on several different platforms. But when I look at the return on that, it's not huge compared to the time that I'm investing. I spend probably an average of 2 hours a week creating graphics and then spending time promoting it on my Instagram stories or on Pinterest. And when I look at my analytics, I'm not seeing a huge return for the time invested in that. So I decided, you know what, this is a distraction. I'm going to eliminate this for the time being, and I might revisit it later down the road in a whole different season. But right now I felt God say to leave this one behind. And let me tell you, doing that alone, dropping that one task in my business has freed up so much time and has given me so much more freedom. Now I only have 3 days a week that I work. And the other 4 days of the week, no work is involved whatsoever. So this is why it's important that when I say you pause me and you pray and you ask God to bring to light what distractions are in my life that I need to be eliminating right now, because you might not think up front, like I didn't originally think that promoting my content on social media was a distraction, but God told me that it was. When we look at where we're spending our time, we need to first be prioritizing the things that are going to be moving the needle, the things that are going to make the biggest change. If your house is an absolute disaster, the first thing that you should do is not going and organizing your bathroom cupboard. Like, that's not the first thing you should be doing. You probably should maybe focus on getting the dirty dishes loaded into the dishwasher. Like, that's going to make a bigger difference. So for my business, posting my content and promoting my podcast episodes on Instagram specifically and Pinterest, it just wasn't the first thing that I need to be pouring my energy into. So that's a distraction that I got rid of. Okay, I know this episode is getting pretty long, and I don't usually like to have episodes more than 15-20 minutes, but this topic at hand today is really important, so I have a few more things that I want to talk about. So now that we've made and we've acknowledged this list of distractions, what are our next steps here? So the first thing that we're going to do is create distraction-free zones. Ultimately, the distractions that you wrote down are the biggest reasons you don't have time. And that's just the real hard reality that I had to face, is I had these distractions that were taking me away from the things that I loved. So what you need to do is set up specific times when you focus entirely on those non-negotiables. That could most likely will be family or work. You can obviously get rid of your work, or self-care without interruptions. An example of this would be turn off your phone during supper time. Or something that I like to do is turn on Do Not Disturb and throw my phone into a drawer when I'm getting my work done. Now that you know what the distractions are in your life that are taking you away from the things you love, now you can go about replacing those moments with the intentional activities from your goals, your dreams list. Got a little baby dinosaur in the background. And then make that a priority for those times where you normally would use a distraction. Replace that time that was usually used towards a distraction and now make it the time for your intentional time for the things that you love. Okay, another thing you're going to do as a next step process is you're going to shift your mindset around the distractions. You need to understand that these they're not just the bad habits. They're often ways that we cope with stress or we avoid discomfort. Acknowledging this in and of itself can help you make a change. Okay, so now, since the distractions are the main culprit for why you lack time in your life, why you feel like you don't have time, Mama's recording. I've taken those examples of possible distractions that most people struggle with, and now I'm going to give you steps to take to eliminate those specific distractions. So first of all, phone usage. Set certain times of the day that you are allowed to check your messages. That could be once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening. Then turn off unnecessary notifications, or like I mentioned earlier, use the Do Not Disturb mode to your advantage during those focus times that you need to work, that you need to school your kids, that you're having family time. I went into my phone and I turned off pretty well all notifications except for my iMessages. Everything else, mail, social media, all of that, notifications are turned off. I can't get notifications unless I actually open up the app and look. Okay, as far as social media goes, consider taking a break. I've done this lots in the past where I've taken a week break. I've taken as long as a 90-day social media fast, and it was transformative, honestly. Go ahead. Also, something I do often is I unfollow accounts that don't bring value or joy or inspiration to me, or maybe accounts that I find myself comparing to. And then you can also, on top of these two things, replace social media with a habit that you enjoy instead, like reading or going for a walk. I think it really boils down to prioritizing and being intentional about the things that we enjoy and making time for it, instead of just always defaulting to those mind-numbing things, the things that are just easy to do. You need to be more intentional about the things that we want to do and make the time to do it. As far as overcommitting yourself to things, practice pausing before you say yes. I always do this. I almost never give people an answer right away. I take the time to consider, does this request align with my goals and my priorities? And then lastly, as far as the procrastination goes, if this is a distraction you struggle with, break things into smaller tasks, more manageable steps to feel less overwhelming. I think one of the worst things that we can do for ourselves is make long to-do lists and big, huge tasks. It's so much better to simplify. Simplify, simplify, simplify. It makes it so much more simple, okay, so much easier to go about doing something when it's not so overwhelming. Okay, we're finally at the end. I know that was so much. I do. But like I said, I felt like it was really impressed on me, on my heart, that God wanted me to share this message with you. And if you would like to take some time to connect with me further on this, if you want some feedback and advice, or there's just something about this message that stood out to you and you just want to connect, email me at hello@jynaeschmid.com. I have it linked for you in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. And just remember, make the small changes first. I know this was a lot that we talked about today, but going about this in small, simple steps is going to make it more manageable for you and easier for you to maintain. I think the bottom line and the biggest culprit that we all struggle with, and if there's one thing you can take away from this entire episode, it's that you need to really look at those distractions in your life and reprioritize your time based on those distractions. Eliminate the distractions, should I say. We don't want to just manage the distractions. We actually want to eliminate them, because what are they doing? They're drawing us away from the things that truly matter to us, the things that are most important in our life. In the beginning of this episode, I was open, I was raw, I was vulnerable with you, and I shared the struggles I've been having lately. But since then, I have now made this list. I've made it clear and known to me what the distractions are in my life, and I've been taking the steps to eliminate those distractions, and I am already seeing a huge difference. Like I said, I went from a 6-day work week to a 3-day work week. And because I've had so much time freed up in eliminating distractions by turning off notifications on my phone, only working during certain time blocks and of certain days, saying no to things more and yes to things that make me happy, I'm already seeing a huge difference in my life. And I want that for you too. So if this episode has encouraged you, blessed you, got your gears turning in any way, and you feel like it would be a blessing to someone else, please go ahead and share it with a friend, because I know it will bless her too. And then don't forget to subscribe to this show so that you don't miss out on any of the content I have coming up in the future. Before you go, if this podcast has encouraged or helped you in any way, the best way that you can show your support is by subscribing to the show and leaving a written 5-star review. Your words truly make my day and remind me why I love sharing here. You can also snap a screenshot of this episode and share it with a friend or post it to your Instagram stories. Make sure to tag me at @HerStableHome. Thanks so much for listening, friend. I will see you next time.